Hey guys, it's Riva and today I'm going to be helping you decide what hero to pick in Capital Supremacy. This is Battlefront 2's new large-scale multiplayer mode, which is set in the Clone Wars. So this is going to be quite a simple video introducing you guys to the heroes, how to use them, and what maps and situations you want to be choosing them in. So in Capital Supremacy there are 4 heroes and 4 villains. So the heroes are Anakin, Chewbacca, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda. And we're going to help you decide which is the best to use out of those. And I'm going to help you decide which is the best playstyle for you. Same thing with the villains, Bossk, Count Dooku, General Grievous, and Darth Maul. Each have their own unique playstyle, especially Dooku, so let's start off with him. Dooku is focused mainly on lightsaber combat, which makes him a very close range hero. But his first ability, Lightning Stun, adds a bit of range to his skill set. Basically, this will eliminate or knock down troopers, whoever's in range. This ability can hit multiple targets, but the less targets you hit will do more damage. But it still works in both situations, so if you're just up against 1 or 2 people, you'll result in elimination, but if there's a large group, then you'll end up knocking them all down. Next up is Duelist. Duelist changes Dooku's lightsaber attacks to a more offensive style, being faster and more powerful. And as you can see in this comparison, he does move a lot more faster than normal. So activate this when you're going up against a hero, because trust me, you're going to do so much damage in this situation. And you can pair this with his final ability called Expose Weakness. Basically, this influences the target to move slower, and whoever is hit with this ability is going to receive more damage taken from Dooku. Next up we have Darth Maul, and he is such an agile hero, with great abilities that make him an all-round really balanced hero. So firstly is a lightsaber throw. Now this has been updated from previously, where it would actually throw vertically. Now it actually throws horizontal, so it's a bigger hitbox to be able to hit more targets. Next is Chokehold. This is where Darth Maul chokes his enemies and pushes them away. Troopers will take most damage, but if not, then they'll still receive that knockback effect. And finally is Spin Attack. This is where Darth Maul leaps forwards, dealing damage to anyone he passes through. And if there's someone in front of you shooting at you, there is a slight chance you can get a deflection on them and actually deal some damage. Now talking about deflection, another update that's happened to Darth Maul is he now has a lightsaber block. Darth Maul never used to have this, but he does now, so this is such a great addition to him because it makes him an all-round balanced hero. Next up is General Grievous. Now General Grievous is quite a tough hero to pick up, because he needs to be played in a specific way. His first ability is Thrust Surge. This is where you lock onto a target and then you jump towards them and basically hit them with all 4 of your lightsabers. This is a high damage ability, and whoever hit by this isn't taken out, then they will get knocked down to the floor. You need to be in range and locked onto a target to use this. Next is Unrelenting Advance. This is where Grievous blocks all blaster fire coming his way. While you're in this state, you don't take any effects from force powers. You will still receive the damage, but you won't go flying around like a ragdoll. This ability can be cancelled whenever you want. And finally, Claw Rush. Claw Rush is basically an attack or escape kind of ability, where you can run into a situation, deal damage to everybody you pass through, or you can just use it to quickly escape from a large group of enemies. And for the final villain, it is Bossk, and Bossk is such a great all-round hero. His first ability is the Dioxis Gas Grenade, which basically sets off gas and damages anybody who walks into it, dealing damage over time. This is so good for defending or attacking an objective. Secondly is the Predator Instincts. This is where Bossk receives thermal vision and turns his Relby into a grenade launcher. So you can see everybody and you can deal damage with a high impact grenade launcher. Great for clearing out large groups of enemies. And finally, Proximity Mines. Bossk throws out mines across the floor. Anybody that walks into it will receive a lot of damage. So now going on to the heroes, starting with Anakin Skywalker. Now Anakin has received quite a lot of nerfs in his time, to the stage that he is now. So his first ability is Pull Dominance. This is basically where he pulls people towards him, making it easier to strike them down. This will deal damage on the way as well. Secondly is Heroic Might. Now Heroic Might, you charge up and every single piece of damage you take will result in your radius getting larger and larger, and eventually you just push out with force. This can be used charged up, or it can be used straight away by just double tapping the ability. And finally, Passionate Strike. Passionate Strike is a lightsaber strike that can break a block.
We're capturing a command post.
Master Windu wouldn't be as gentle.
Now on to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan is a very passive hero, so his abilities match that with high defense. So his first ability is a all-out push. This can be used the same way as Heroic Might with Anakin. You can charge it up and increase the range of your push, or you can press the ability straight away and do a small ranged push. Either way, it is a force push. Secondly is called Restrictive Mind Trick. Basically what this does is it stops everybody using their abilities and dodging, so that's combat rolls or dodges for heroes. But keep in mind that they can still use their blasters or attack you, so it is still a trade-off. And finally, Defensive Rush. This is where Obi-Wan will deflect everything in his way and then strike the enemy at the end. It's kind of like an Unrelenting Advance, but more offensive style. Now for Yado. Yado is a very defensive and objectively based hero. So good for this game mode. Now another update that's been made to Yoda, like with Darth Maul, is that he now has a lightsaber block. So when you're using your absorb or your block, you will actually block lightsabers, which is a great update for Yoda. But when you block this, you can actually absorb Blast of Fire and then use his first ability, Unleashed, which is a force push. The more blast of fire or damage that you take and absorb will result in more range and damage on your force push. Secondly is a health buff for all of your team. And finally, Dash Attack. This is basically similar to Maul's spin attack, where you leap towards a target, dealing damage to anyone there. And finally for the heroes is Chewie. Now Chewie is a very tough hero to use because his abilities require you to be quite accurate and patient. So his first ability is a shock grenade, where basically if you throw it down, it will actually split off to 4 other fragments and stun a large area. Secondly is Furious Bowcaster, where he changes his bowcaster from a semi-auto into a fully auto. So you can just hold down your trigger and he'll continuously fire the bowcaster. And finally is Ground Slam. You can charge towards a target, pressing the ability again will actually slam down and deal damage to everybody around you. So now that we've roughly got all the heroes explained with their abilities, it might give you a sense of which one you want to play as. But something I think is good to mention is the appearances for these heroes, because when you're playing as a hero, you want to look good doing it. So for Count Dooku, he has 3 appearances: the default skin, which is available to everybody, and 2 epic skins, Dark Ritual and Pajamas. Yeah, Dooku in pajamas. Grievous also has 3 skins, the default available to everybody, a rare and a legendary. Rare is a slightly battle damaged, worn armor kind of look, and then legendary is a flare blazing, ripped brain showing out of his head. You know, it's a great skin. Again, Anakin has 3 skins, the default, then one with a Jedi robe over the top, and finally the Clone Wars inspired skin where he has armor on his chest and his shoulders. Same thing with Obi-Wan, a default, Jedi robe and Clone Wars inspired armor. Now playing as this in Capital Supremacy just feels so immersive, especially with Obi-Wan. Yoda has 2 skins, the default and then a rare skin with just his hood on his head. And finally Chewie has 3 skins, the default, common, which just adds a small bandage to his arm, and an epic skin which is inspired by the Solo film where they're on Vandor. So now that we've got a rough idea of the abilities and what kind of appearances you can use for these heroes, I'm just going to quickly explain some gameplay tips. This is going to be a really chilled out part of the video where I'm just going to sit down, where I'm just going to talk over some gameplay and hope to see if you guys pick up on it. So Dooku actually has 3 dodges, so this means that he constantly has a dodge available, which is really good considering he is a lightsaber hero and it's very tough for him to get up close to people. So dodging is a really good way to be evasive and get close to your target without taking too much damage. Now the lightsaber heroes like Obi-Wan and Dooku are very good in the first phase, on the ground phase, because there's not too many people in one location. They're kind of all spread out, and this really helps the gameplay experience because these heroes don't particularly perform too well with large groups of enemies. Dooku is a very vulnerable hero because it's really easy to dodge lightsaber hits in this game. So you need to make sure that you're not engaging in too many targets at once. Situations like that are really good for heroes like General Grievous, Bossk, Anakin and Yoda because they have these abilities that affect a large group of area and can deal a lot of damage to enemies. There's 2 ways you can go about picking a hero in Capital Supremacy. You can do it because you like the hero, or you can do it for the best situation. For example, Yoda can be really good in the second phase where everybody is grouped up at a specific objective and you're constantly taking damage, pushing it back with your unleash, giving health with your presence to all of your team, and it can really help out. But Dooku in that situation wouldn't be too useful because he needs to get up close, and the only way to do that is to engage with a lot of enemies, which will just result in a really quick elimination for you. Likewise with Bossk. Bossk can just set traps and has so much damage for a large group of enemies, and a deterrent like the gas grenade is so good for the indoor sections of Capital Supremacy when you go up to one of the cruisers. Anakin and General Grievous are pretty good in both phases of Capital Supremacy because they have abilities that allow you to kind of take part in both situations. The only thing I'm going to mention is Grievous has got a really short stamina, so when he's blocking it will run out really quickly. So always be cautious when using General Grievous going up against a large group of enemies. Maul is just perfect for both ground and ship phase because he's fast, agile, he's got the deflection, he's got high damage, he's got the escape with the spin attack, he's got the chokehold which can push large groups of enemies away. The new lightsaber thrown horizontally has such a great hitbox and it actually deals damage on the way and back to Maul. So he's a very good hero in that situation. But the maps also come into play with this as well because you want to make sure that, because if you've played Capital Supremacy you might realize that there's usually 1 or 2 command posts that are usually the most populated. So there's a lot of command posts that maybe have a few bots or 1 or 2 players actually capping them, but there's usually one point that a lot of people go to, and it just depends which kind of strategy you want to go with. Dooku would be one to go with command posts no one's really at, but then Yoda would be really good at command posts where a lot of people are flooding in. So that's just my general overview of Capital Supremacy and the heroes that are involved in it. I know it is quite a simple video for the long time fans of the game, but this is kind of an introduction to my return to YouTube, so I just want to make something simple, something that gets to the point, and something that everybody can kind of relate to. So nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I am heading to Gamescom next week, so we could expect to see some stuff for the August update for Battlefront 2, so keep an eye out for that, and I'll see you in the next video. It's been Riva, and it's good to be back.